Alright guys, what's up? So in this video we're gonna build a 100% automated LinkedIn team page, and I'm not talking about some of the other videos I've seen, especially when researching this video, where it's like an RSS feed and a prompt and then you get some pretty shitty content, to be honest. Now we're actually gonna source really good, well-performing content on a different platform and then bring it over to LinkedIn and then post it and give credit to the original owner. So we actually build a page that gets a lot of engagement. So why make LinkedIn team pages in the first place? Well, I actually found this strategy when I was on LinkedIn and I saw a guy named Chase Dumont, I think you pronounce it. I'll put it somewhere here. And this guy has grown his LinkedIn audience to over 300,000 followers in a very short amount of time. And 300,000 followers might not seem to a lot if you're not on LinkedIn much. Like on Instagram, that might not be that much. But on LinkedIn, that's actually really insane. Like on LinkedIn, the audience is high level. They have a lot of money to spend. They're usually buyers within companies. So if you have 300,000 of them following you, it's actually insane. And what I realized is he built a dozen of these different team pages that are all posting content related to what he does. So he's into e-commerce, email marketing. So he has like a copywriting page, a sales page, an AI page. He has dozens of these pages and they're all commenting on each other and basically creating a bunch of engagement in like his private engagement pool. And you know, as you can see from his follower account, it's working really well for him. And just to drive my point home, he's not the only one that's using this strategy. So a good example as well of basically owned media. So these types of team pages or kind of like little media companies are also being bought by big software companies. So for example, the Daily Hustle, I think it was called, a newsletter, was sold to HubSpot a couple years ago for multiple seven figures just because they had that many subscribers in an owned media fashion, and HubSpot just inserts the advertisement in there and just keep running as usual. So that makes it evident this is super valuable stuff, and you want to build one for your own company, or maybe you want to even build 10, because if it's 100% automated, it doesn't take you any time, and there's basically upside only, especially since it's 100% automated. So without further ado, let's dive in. All right, so I'm just grabbing the iPad just to give you an overview of what we're actually going to build. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to get the content that we want to post. So like I said before, we're not going to create some garbage AI content that no one's really going to watch. Instead, what we're going to do is we're actually just going to get content from existing meme pages and team pages on Instagram. And then we're just going to repackage it on LinkedIn. So we're going to write a little description of what's actually on the meme and make it like LinkedIn proof. And then we're going to give credit to the original page. And then, you know, if someone ever DMs us like, hey, remove this, we'll 100% do it. But this way we actually can check for already existing engagement on Instagram. And if a post is doing well, it's an indication that people actually like the content. And then obviously on LinkedIn, they might like it as well. So why are we not just scraping, for example, LinkedIn content or getting our content from Twitter or other places? It's simply because it's going to be way harder. So on Twitter, you have the issue that a lot of the content is spread out in multiple tweets. So we'd have to make a carousel, and then we can't upload it to LinkedIn automatically because they don't support that with the API. And then with LinkedIn content, you can scrape some of the content, but only if you're authorized as a user, which puts your account at risk. Also, a lot of the content is not going to be like generic page content. It's more so going to be some guy or girl posting on their personal profile about like what their business is doing or a story about themselves. It's going to be kind of weird to repost that. So it's much safer to just look at existing team pages on Instagram, take their content, give credit, write a little description and post it out. And that way we can also increase our posting frequency to at least once a day. But obviously we could also do like 3 times a day. And we can even do it 3 times a day on 7 pages or on 10 pages or whatever, right? So we can really scale this thing. So that's going to be the first step, to get the content from Insta. And then what we're going to do is we're basically going to score the content. So we're going to have ChatGPT vision, take a look at the actual picture, like what's on there, and then we're going to score it and get some of the variables out there and basically get everything inside of an Airtable. And then in that Airtable, the score is set, and then also we'll do the scheduling. And then one thing I'll say with these builds, so whenever you want to automate something 100%, so you're automating it completely, obviously the quality is going to be a little bit lower. So if you still have maybe like a VA or a marketing employee on your team or yourself, you want to spend the time on it and actually check some of the posts, like, hey, do I like this? Should I change it a little bit? Or maybe if you're browsing Twitter, you know, and you see something funny, you just take that and put it as a post. It's going to most likely perform a little bit better. But our goal obviously is going to be to 100% automate this. So we're not going to do this. We're going to make it 100% automated. And yeah, we're just going to automatically schedule it out, have it in the Airtable. If you want to take a look, you can. Otherwise, it will just keep growing, keep going. And yeah, basically build owned media on autopilot. All right guys, so I'm in my computer right now, and the first step is going to be to create your LinkedIn team page. So I've already done this, but just a quick overview. You go to this URL, which is a really long one, or you just Google create LinkedIn page, press create your page, and then it takes you here, and then you can select company, and then you can do the company name, the URL like the slug, website if you have one, the industry you're in, organization size, organization type, a little logo and a tagline, and then you just create the page. So I've actually already done this. I've created this little page here, which is called the Daily Sales Huddle. So yeah, business content is the category that I chose, so you can take that as well. So far I've amassed 41 followers, but I haven't automated this page yet. So far I've only been playing around with doing some manual posting, just trying to see if this is a viable thing that I actually want to automate. So actually, after this video, I'll turn on my automation as well and just let it run. And yeah, maybe in a couple months or so, I can make an update video and kind of give you like a V2, maybe I make some optimizations, because I actually want to scale this up as well. So once you made the page, you actually want to go over to Instagram and you want to find a couple of pages that you are going to take your content from. So what we're going to do, again, like I said, is we're going to take a couple of team pages. We're going to score the content they post. So for example, based on likes, based on the exact content, we're basically going to create our little own algorithm for scoring the content. And then whenever the content is good enough for us to post, we're going to post it to the page and we're going to schedule it out. And then, we can run the scrapers again, let's say once every 2 weeks, to then kind of replenish our schedule for the next 2 weeks. So it's really completely fully automated. So as you can see, this is one of my pages I'm going to use, which is The Hustle, which actually also mentioned as an example of a media company that actually sold to HubSpot for millions of dollars. So yeah, it's a good one obviously to take inspiration from. So this content, my page is called The Daily Sales Huddle. So I want to be in the B2B lead generation / sales niche. So this is not 100% accurate, but still this content will do well on LinkedIn because it's more so focused around like the professional that might be on LinkedIn. So one thing that I also think actually is really interesting is that, for example, they also have their own content. It's actually also taken from some of the other pages. So in this case, they're taking it from a guy named Hero Dividend. So there's also these bigger pages even, they're also stealing. I wouldn't call it stealing. I would call it reposting content from different pages and aggregating basically everything into one page and then just giving credit to the original poster. And I think it's actually a positive, right? Like this is actually one of those brand building metas right now, right? Like you see a lot of those guys on Instagram, they create a bunch of pages about themselves, or they have others create pages about them and just repost content over and over and over again and just get more and more and more reach. And it's actually this little Mr. Beast clip. I might put it up somewhere here.
I won't say who, but the YouTuber with 20 million subscribers the other day. He's like, all these people keep re-uploading my videos on TikTok. And he sent me this one TikTok with like 30 million views where it was just a part of his video. And I was like, I just called him. I was like, you fucking dipshit. You know how many people of that 30 million had no clue who you were? How many views I drove to your videos? I was like, what the fuck are you going on about? You want to strike this? And then after I like really laid it out, he's like, you're right.
Where he says like, hey, you're stupid if you don't want to get reposted. And this is exactly how I think about it as well. So yeah, we're just going to give everyone credit and then it should be no problem. And if they want to be removed, obviously we're going to remove it, no questions asked. So the other pages I selected are actually... So I actually decided to cut this part out as I was going through all of the different pages and my reasoning for picking them. But since this video is already quite long, I just skip over that. Just make sure the content will resonate on LinkedIn and it's actually good content. So these are just the 4 pages I'm going to start with, but I'm going to be honest, if you put in more work and get more niche pages and you get a couple dozen of them, we can actually make the system a lot better because you'll have more content to choose from and we can make our scoring algorithm a little bit more strict. So we only get like the best of the best content in there. And I think that's what will ultimately make the difference, between your page growing fast or growing really, really fast, is, obviously going to be the quality of the content. So, all right, so now that we've chosen our pages and we got our own page set up, we're now going to have to get the content from Instagram into our Airtable so we can start scoring it. The tool we're going to use for that is actually Apify. So it's actually completely free. You get $5 of scraping credits each month. And I don't think we're going to need the full $5 depending on the site you're going to run this at. But for your first page, you definitely don't. So if you don't have an account yet, just make sure to sign up with the link in the description. I do get an affiliate fee if you end up paying. But yeah, it's free to start out nonetheless. Right, so once you're in Apify, you got your free account. And as you can see, you got $5 of free usage. So this is going to be enough for us running the Instagram scraper. So if you then go to the store and then type in Instagram, you'll get the Instagram scraper here, which is from Apify themselves. And if you click on it, you can see we only pay $2.30 for every 1,000 results. We're not going to pull in 2,000 results a month, so this should be sufficient for us to run it completely for free. However, if you would go over that, obviously it's still going to be very, very cheap for what you can potentially get in return by getting that extra reach. All right, so what we're just going to do here is add in the Instagram URL. So I already added in one of them, and let me just add in the other ones. All right, so I got the URLs in there. So we're going to change some of the settings. So here you want to say scrape posts, because that's what we're going to scrape from the profile. And then in max items per, we're going to put the max items at 20. So that means we get 20 items per Instagram URL, and then we can rerun this, for example, once a month. So we can get 20 fresh posts each time from each of the URLs, so 80 posts in total. And then we can have our little filtering algorithm pick the posts we actually want to repost or not. And of course, again, if you have more URLs, the more the better, because we can do a little bit more strict scoring and get the best content out there. But again, for this example, I'm just going to use 4. And then we're just going to hit save, because for the next step, we're actually going to use make.com to activate the scraper and then take the data and put it into an Airtable. All right, so I actually had the Airtable AI just create this Airtable base, and I removed some things that were a bit overkill, as well as I just moved some things around. And now I'll go through finalizing the setup. But if you want to download this exact Airtable base, because I will not go through everything and all of the setup together, because it's going to be a little bit long and boring, you can just hit the link down in the description and you can actually download it for completely free. So there's no need to set up this entire Airtable base yourself. You can just download it in the description down below and then set up the make automation with me and finalize the process. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to pull from the Instagram scraper into this assets library, which will basically be the posts that we got from other pages. We'll call them assets. And then before we actually turn them into posts, which will be our own posts, we change the text, change some other things. We're going to save them in here as assets. And then also we're going to do the scoring in here. So I'm just going to delete these examples, and then we're going to add a couple of columns to make this table complete. All right, so I set up some extra fields here. So we're gonna extract from Instagram. We're gonna get the likes, the comments, the date it was posted, the link to the original Instagram post, the Instagram profile URL as well as just the username, so we can mention it in our post. And then also, of course, the file, the type, so if it's gonna be either an image or a video. And then a description, which will be just the description that is on the original post. And then the asset name I'll create after with a little formula. So it just fills out, the username and then the post type and then maybe the amount of likes and the date posted, something like this, which I'll share in a bit. So now let's link the two together. So we're gonna go over to make.com and actually have a little LinkedIn team page folder here. I'm gonna create a new scenario. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna say Apify. I'm going to say run a selected task. I'm going to create a connection, and then I just have to go back to Apify. Then I have to go to settings, probably integrations, and then I have my API token here, which I can copy. I'm going to go back here, and then I'm going to blur this out. Now it's connected, and then I'm going to select the task I want to run. So I actually didn't save it yet as a task. So you have actors, which basically are like the scrapers. So it's the Instagram actor or the LinkedIn actor or the YouTube actor or whatever you're using. And then the task is basically like a certain configuration within those actors. So if I go back to the Instagram scraper, I have everything set up like we just discussed. And then if I go here to create a task, I can just call it for example, team page sourcer, and I'm gonna say continue, and then refresh, it should show up. There it is. And as you can see, we have two options. Either we can run it in sync or we can run it async. So basically what that means is either if we say yes, it's just gonna invoke the scraping, and then it's just gonna wait for a response to come in. But these things time out quite fast, which means after 120 seconds, if it's not done yet, it will just cancel out, and we kind of want to prevent that. So just to prevent it, what we're going to do is we're going to have this one to trigger it, and then we're going to have another automation that will just wait until data is sent to it, like a signal like, hey, I'm done, and then that way we prevent any sort of timeouts. So for this one, we're just going to hit save, and then we're going to set a schedule, and like we said, let's do it twice a month, at the 1st and the 14th of the month. So we have 2 times a month we refresh all of our content inputs, and then we put it in the Airtable, scoring, scheduling, it all goes automatically. And just 2 times a month we refresh, or basically replenish the queue. Hit OK, hit save, and hit scheduling is on. We give it a name, so let's say, all right. And then we go back, go here, we create a new scenario. And in this scenario, basically, once it's done scraping the content, we want to receive it. So we're going to go to Apify again, and then let's see, watch task runs, and then my finished task run webhook. So this basically means, again, it's done. It's going to give a signal to our webhook. It's going to say, hey, I'm done. This is the data, which is nice. So it's going to be this one, team page sourcer, save. I'm going to hit OK, and then as you can see, what we'll get back from the first module is just IDs, user agents, all this kind of stuff. But basically, it will not give us the data set that we actually did, but it will give us the data set ID, which we can then use as input here into the get dataset items. So basically, we give the dataset ID, and then we get the data from that last run. So this is all good. So we can just hit OK, hit save. And now our next step is to add it all to Airtable. So we go to Airtable, and then we do create a record. We select the right base, which in this case is the LinkedIn content scheduler. And then the table is going to be assets. But then we actually run into a problem because it has no clue at this point what the dataset item will be. We don't really have the options here. Right, so to basically fix this, we just have to run the entire process once. So if you have set up a bunch of URLs and a bunch of posts, it can get quite expensive. So what you can do is just set the max items to 1, so that we get 4 different Instagram posts, which will not be expensive for us to scrape. And then afterwards we can set it to the normal settings, so we don't just waste a bunch of So we don't just waste a bunch of resources basically on nothing. So just just make it 1, and then we hit save. So we can either just start it from here, or we can just test our other automation, make sure it works. So we just say run this module, and then it says it started. So if you go over here, we can actually say you runs 1, and that's actually running right now, so it's working. And then we can go over to the other one, and it should just populate the dataset items because now it has an example dataset. All right, so as you can see, it just ran, and we got the dataset items here. So let's see, and yeah, as you can see, we now have a lot of example data here that we can start and map to the Airtable, and then we can start testing the entire system. So just adding the Airtable module here, back again, create records, select the base I made, then the table is going to be assets, like I said before. All right, so asset name we're going to leave empty. Description is going to be the text, that's the Instagram text, basically the post text. Then the type. Okay, it seems like the first one has some sort of bug, so I'm just going to ignore that one. But then from the second one onwards, we can see we got all of the data, so the input URL, and then the type, we can see it actually says image, so we can map that, and then we see the caption, what it says, and then actually also something that's interesting is the alt text. So actually Instagram also basically transcribes everything that's in a photograph, so we can actually use this as well for our scoring algorithm. So I'm actually going to add that into the Airtable and then save it as well. So let me do that right now. So for type, we're just going to map it here to type. So we might get an error because it has to be the exact spelling. So let me actually check how it's spelled here. It should be video or image. So that seems to be okay. It seems to be spelled with a capital as well there. And then remove the third option. And then for file, so basically I want to take the file URL, which is going to be, so it's going to be either display URL or video URL. But obviously it's going to change each and every time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little bit of magic, and we're going to set in an if statement. So if, and then we're going to say if type, and then we're going to have to take the equal operator, which is here. If type equals, and I'm going to say image, then we want to take the image URL, so I'm going to image, or the, what I say, what was it called again? We want to take the display URL, which was basically where the image is hosted, and if not, we want to take the video URL. So I think this works, and I think this is the right way to do it as well. I don't think we need brackets, but let's test it out. File name, we'll just keep it empty. Username, which will be owner username. Instagram profile, I want the URL there, so that's going to be, so that will be the input URL. So let me see, that's this one. And then for the post, it should be the post URL. And then date posted should be timestamp. Then likes is likes. Likes is likes. Then for likes, we're going to put in likes count. And then comments, we're going to put in comment count. We're going to hit OK. Hit save. And actually just let's retry running this again and see if we get any errors. So I'm just going to go over to Apify this time just to make it easy. I'm going to go to team page sourcer. I'm just going to hit start. And it's going to start running, and it should invoke it should start scraping and then basically start our make automation as well. Let's see what happens. Alright, so now it's done running and we actually get an error, which is kind of what I expected. So it says invalid attachment object or field file. So let's see what it put as input. So again, it seems like it actually has some issues when scraping the first result. So I'm just gonna look at our settings here because I think we messed something up. All right, so it actually seems like our input, we have this random post in there, which shouldn't be in there. So let me see. All right, so that's this one. I don't know how that got in there. Let's save and let's try one more time. All right, so it seems like it was actually successful this time, which is great. So let's go over to the Airtable and see what we got. So as you can see, we got 2 images and a video, and that seems to be correct. So actually in this template, again, link is down in the description below, there's actually interfaces in there as well, which will make it look like you have your own little SaaS app, which is really cool. So if we just open it up that way, we go to assets and then the asset gallery, and then let's see what they're all about. So for example, this video, let's see if we play it. Okay, so it's actually quite a funny one. And then we got this asset, which has a file, which is great. And then we have another one. So it's working fine. And then we have one unnamed one, which was already in there. So let's go back to the Airtable and do some final things. I'm just going to delete this empty row. And then I'm also going to give the assets a name. And I also see that the description didn't populate with any of them. So it seems that the alt text is not being put in correctly, and then also the description, which should be like the Instagram caption, it's not set up correctly. So let's fix that. And then also just the asset name. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this a formula field, and I'm going to take in the Alright, and I just give this little asset name, so it's like username, what it is, and then basically the date it was posted. We can make this look nicer later on, but you just have the basics. So now let's fix the description, and then let's also fix the alt text and the Instagram post URL so they actually show up. Alright, and then the Instagram post should just be URL, which is this one, and then we have to actually hit refresh on top here to get that extra field that we did, which is the alt text. That's why it wasn't filled out, because it wasn't showing here yet. So I left it empty, and then we just do alt, and then we click OK, and then hit save. And then let's just run it one final time to make sure everything's working. So I'm just gonna go in here and delete everything. And then we're going to make sure it's working by going back to the team page, sourcer, task, and then we're going to hit start, It's gonna run, and we'll see that it works fine, hopefully. Hey guys, so just a quick edit to this automation. So this is a little bit later as I'm recording, but I'll edit it back in. So actually, obviously, if we run this, let's say every 2 weeks, and then we scrape the same post because a certain page doesn't post that often, we don't want to add it to the Airtable, because this could mean that our team page will start posting duplicate content, which obviously we don't want. So one thing you can do here is, which we're gonna do here, and again, if you want to just download this whole system, the link will be in the description to download it for free actually. It will be free for now, as the time of this recording, but it might actually get paid soon. So if you want access, just make sure to download it. But we'll just do a step before this where we search the record to see if it already exists. And we can just do that based on the post URL, because that's a unique URL. And then if it exists, we will not add it to the If it already exists, we'll not add it to the Airtable again. If it doesn't exist, then we'll add it. So just really easy, what we can do here is add in a search record module, and then we go to the base, we type in, or we get the scheduler that we made. We go to table, go to the asset table, and then we get the formula that... All right, so that took a bit of messing around. The Airtable formula thing is always a pain. But this is the final working formula. So you say Instagram post equal to URL, you put this between brackets, and then it will evaluate that statement to see, if the URL already exists. And then what we do is we connect that to the creator record, and what we do then is we align, and then we do if ID exists, or actually ID does not exist is the condition to continue. So then we just say doesn't exist yet as a label, so we understand, and then we hit save, align, and now it's fully working. So we'll actually first check if it already exists, and only if it does not exist, it will create a new record. So this way we prevent duplicate content coming into our Airtable. All right, I took a quick break there, but now we got all of the information inside of the Airtable. We're gonna start working on our scoring mechanism. So basically what I want to do there is I just want to have the number of likes and comments be leading there, because the more likes it has on Instagram, the more likely it is to do well on our LinkedIn team page as well. So obviously just looking at likes will not cut it, because 16,000 likes, that's good. Well, we don't know, because maybe this page always gets 30,000 likes, right? So I'm just going to set something up there to basically have the rolling average, and then if it's above the average, that's when we consider it a good post, and that's when we will consider posting it. All right, so I made a table right here that says pages, so it has the page name. So let's call actually username to make it more unique. So we'll do a username, and then we'll link all of the assets, so all of the individual posts that we sourced from this table, and then we'll use something called a roll-up field, which will basically be like a summing field where we can take all of the likes from the linked assets and then sum them, and then we get the total number of likes. And then we can go back to assets, and then here we can add up a lookup field. Right, so then as you can see, we can now have the average here as well. And then what we can do is we can have a formula field. So we can say, let's say above average, question mark, and then we do formula. And then we say, let's see, it's if likes is bigger than average likes. All right, so basically above average we get yes, yes, or no, which makes sense, right? Because it's now just the exact same. But obviously, whenever these assets get into the table, we don't want to manually add them here to the page and click around, because again, we want this to be 100% automated. So we're just gonna go into automations here and just set something up. So we're gonna say when a record is created in the asset page, we are going to see if it exists in the pages, right? Where username is username, and then the record limit should be 1, because it can only be 1. And then we're gonna do conditional logic. So if conditions are met, so if find records length. Right, so if the records found, the length is more than 0, or in other words, we found something, then we just want to update the records. If not, we want to create it, right? So we're going to update the records. We're going to update the record inside of pages. It's going to be the record that we just found. So it's going to be a find record and an Airtable record ID that we just found. And then we're going to update the fields assets. And then, or actually we're going to do it the other way around, because if we would update the pages table with the new assets, we basically would erase the other connections we already have. So we're going to do it the other way around. We're going to update inside of the assets table the record that was just created with, so not this unknown fields, but with, let's see, page, and then the page we found. So I hope that makes sense. So that's going to be this. All right, so let me walk you through it. So when a new asset is created, or in other words, we scrape a new Instagram post, we're going to look at the pages table. If that page with that username already exists, if so, we're going to link our newly created asset to that page, okay? And then if not, which we're going to set up now, we're going to create a new one and then link it, right? So it is all created. Whenever a new page is added, it automatically creates it for us. So again, it's completely automated, and in the event we just want to add a couple more pages to our sourcing algorithm, it just automatically keeps running. So we just do if record length is 0, so basically we don't find any existing page, we're going to create a record inside of the page, and we're going to give it a username, which will be the same of the asset that was just created, all right? And then we're going to link the asset, and this time we can link it in pages because it's the first one, right? So we don't overwrite anything. This should be ID. All right, so now we can actually test it and see what happens. So I'm just going to do test automation on top here, select a record. Let me see actually which one did we already create. So we created this little thing here. I'll just delete that. Do this later. And then we say just select records. And then we run the automation, and then it will find no records. So it should create a record. So let's see. And yeah, as you can see, it created selling advice and it linked to the asset there. And then we can actually just run the automation for the other two as well, because the trigger is when a record is created, and since they're already in there, otherwise it's going to be a problem. So let's run the automation. All right, so now we have all three of them. All right, so now that we got this automation set up, as well as the other automations to save everything, and now we can also score the data. I'm just going to run the scraping of the Instagram posts at a bit of a bigger scale, so we actually have like a couple dozen posts to work with, and then we're going to go on to the next step, where we're going to take every piece of content that is above that page's average, and then we're going to actually make sure it is converted into a post, and then we're going to set up our posting scheduler as well. So just going into the Apify again, and then I'm just going to change the max items from 20 to, let's say, 25. So now we can have a total of 75 posts be populated inside of our Airtable. Especially since this is our first scrape, I'm going to put it a little bit higher than usual. And then, like I said before, every 2 weeks, for example, you can replenish this, and then you can set the items differently. And then also, since it checks for duplicate content, we can put this a little bit higher, and then just have all the new posts always be available for our sorting algorithm to choose from and post to our team page. So 25 items, I'm just going to hit save and start, and then all we have to do is just wait, and then our Airtable should start populating. All right, so a couple of things actually went wrong there. So I have to add in an error handler here. So we're just going to add in the ignore error handler. So whenever there's some sort of error because it didn't scrape the exact right data, it will just continue with the next bundle. So we'll not have that issue. And then also one thing I noticed is that it says average likes, but what I did wrong here is I actually set up the sum of the likes, which is obviously not good. We're going to do the average. So it's going to be AVG. No, average, and then save, confirm, and that should give us, yes, that should give us some posts that are above average. not a whole lot. Right, so to fix this, because we got the error, what I'm actually gonna do is I am going to say process all data. So it actually saved it, which is nice. So now it will run again, and then as you can see, because we set up that filter step, it will filter out those first couple that didn't have any errors, and then we'll start creating the other ones, which, as you can see, some of them have errors. All right, so now we have 22 assets that are above their page average, so they're basically well-performing posts. And basically the next step we have to do is now transform these assets into our own posts. Again, obviously credit the original username, and then also we need to add a little description of our own, which obviously we're gonna write with ChatGPT. So the way we're gonna do this as follows. So we're gonna go back to make.com and we're gonna create a new scenario. And we can schedule this to also run, let's say not on the 1st and I think the 14th we schedule the other one, but let's say we run it on the 2nd and the 15th, right? Because then it can just batch process a bunch of posts and then they can be sent out accordingly. Right, so I skipped the live building here because I went completely overboard, but I'll just give you an overview of what it looks like so you can replicate it, or you can just download it in the description down below. Alright guys, so now on to the final step. So we're basically going to take the assets that are above average and then we're going to create our own post. So to be honest, I went a little bit overboard with this. So basically the issue we had when I first recorded this is that whenever a video or an image post would just have a very short caption, or the caption would be something like follow, add page for more, or if you want to do this or this, go to this page, where it was like more of like a sponsored post. Basically, our AI wouldn't be able to write like a good caption. So yeah, I went a little bit overboard. So basically what we're doing is at first we're searching in the assets table in the above average view, which has a filter that has no related posts yet. So we didn't make a post yet for it. And it's above average, which was the field we calculated earlier to see if it's a post that has more likes than the average of that exact page. And then basically what we do is we check if it's a video or if it's an image. If it's a video, we download the video file. We then make a transcription of the video, so anything that's said out loud is transcribed here by OpenAI, which you can set up like this. So you say file name, you need to add .mp4 or you'll get an error. You get the data from the previous step. Previous step, get a file, is just a file URL. And then I use this API, so I'll leave a link to this down in the description below, or you can just sign up for the blueprint and I'll include all the information there. Basically this API, what it does, since OpenAI cannot transcribe video files, it can only see images, but it cannot transcribe video files as in visually. So what we want to do is just take a frame at the 2-second mark, just so it kind of knows what's in there. It's not 100% foolproof, like obviously, video usually changes, but it does give it an idea of like what's in the image. And to do a frame by frame thing, we have to run custom code and we just complicate this build like by a lot. So yeah, just use this simple API. It's free up until I think 50 or so creations a month. So it should be free for this team page to run. And then afterwards, it's pretty cheap still. We then take that image that was just generated by the API that I just mentioned, analyze it as well, and then we write first post. We say like, hey, write me a LinkedIn post based on the instructions, the transcription and the description of the video. So transcription is in the audio and description of like what does it see. And I have this prompt. Again, you can download this in the description. And then I actually add in another prompt. So we actually make it like a double prompted sort of post, do a bit of prompt chaining, so to say. And basically we have a couple of extra instructions here that finalize the post, and then it saves the post to posts. So we say caption is result, and then the asset, we link the record ID. So basically what this means is that it takes this video, for example, and then it will create a post and then it will link it back to the asset. And then because now related post is not empty, which is a requirement to be in this view, it will then basically disappear and be marked as done. So we can kind of use this as a to-do list. And then for the image part, it's basically the same, only we don't have to analyze the vision, and the prompt is a little bit different. Again, you can download these in the description below and quickly get access to them, the exact prompts. So let's run some examples. So I'll run 3 examples. All right, so I wrote some posts. So I'm not 100% happy with it yet, but I think it's good enough. Obviously, if you just edit these a little bit, then they're good to go. But as you can see, here's a little Trump meme that's waiting for the document to be signed, right? A little sales meme. And it writes this post. I don't think it's terrible. It's okay, especially for a team page. It will do. And then, so is it the best post? Probably not. But it did get what is in the image, so it does understand it, and it can write a little thing to go with it and just post it. And to be honest, the meme or the image element here is going to be the main part anyway. And this way we get unique content. So now we're going to go on to the final piece of the puzzle, which is going to be posting and scheduling this out. All right, so as for the posting, we're just going to create a new view and we're going to call it to post. And then what I did here is I added in a formula field that has the record ID in there, which is kind of a random number. And I'm sorting by that field, so we kind of randomize the posts out. And then one final thing is I'll add a filter that says posted is unchecked. And then that way we're not really going to schedule out the post, as in this post will go live on this day. We can do that, it's quite easy to make as well, but it doesn't really have any value. It's easier to just pick a random post that's ready to be posted, post it, check it off, and the next day the automation just checks again. So going back to the team page, create a new scenario, and then the first step is going to be Airtable. It's going to be search records, select the right base, right table, which is going to be posts. View is going to be 2 posts. Limit is going to be 1, and this is very important. Otherwise, we're going to post 10 posts at once. We just want to do 1. And then what we're going to do is LinkedIn. We're going to do create an organization image post, and then I just got to create a connection. Right, so I connected my account. And then I can select my organization, which is going to be the daily sales huddle. And then I'm going to map the file, which is going to be file name, and then the data. All right, so we have to upload the data. So we need to add in another step, which is going to be the HTTP. It's going to be get file. I'm just going to drag it over like this. And then the URL is going to be file URL. Okay. Hit save. Go back here. File name and then data. So whenever it doesn't show up, you can just hit refresh just to get the actual variable to show. And then it actually automatically maps it. Let's see, title and alt text. Not really going to do anything with that. And for content, we're just going to use caption, and that's basically it. All right, so one thing we obviously want to add in here as well is just give the credits. So we just do the caption, and then we just do one white space, and we do credits at, and then we have to select the username. As you can see though, it's not showing up here because we haven't actually linked it. So if we go back to the posts, and then here we add another lookup field. So we say username, and then we do lookup. And then we look it up under assets, and then username, and then we create the field. All right, and we just added in here credits at, and now at every end of the post, it just credits yours. And then one final thing we'll do is we'll actually update a record. So this is in our content scheduler, and then it's in posts, and then we just want to hit the check mark that we actually posted it. And then one other thing I'll actually add in is I'm going to add in a date posted field here, just so we know when we posted this, because let's say we have over 1,000 posts that we posted across like multiple pages. We can obviously, after a while start repurposing those. And then alternatively, something also that's built in here already, which was made actually by the Airtable AI, but if we were to work with multiple pages, we could also build that in here. So each page we just randomly grab a post and then it basically claim the post. And then, we could also start cross-posting and doing all this kind of crazy stuff. For now, I'm going to keep it simple, but if you guys want to see anything about that, let me know and I'll consider it. Or maybe I'll just drop that for the newsletter. Again, link in the description. So we're just going to update the record, and then we're going to update the date field as well. so that we know when we posted this. So date posted, we're gonna do here, and we're gonna say now. And then here on record ID, we just have to fill out the initial record ID. Gonna hit save. And then let's see. All right, so it looks like we're all good. Let me pull up my LinkedIn and see if the post worked. All right, and as you can see, I'm here at the daily sales huddle, and just now we posted this exact post, which has the image, which has the nice caption. I actually think it looks really good. You know, the caption works out great, looks good. And yeah, now we're completely done. All right, so that's a full team page build. So now you have a completely automated team page that pulls content from Instagram team pages, transcribes it with AI, and then automatically posts it to your LinkedIn team page. So I'm gonna keep my team page running, and I'll update you guys in the comments down below in a couple of months to see how the page has grown. So if you want to build this for yourself, again, make sure to check out the link in the description to download these blueprints. So it's super easy to copy paste, it's completely free. And also let me know, of course, your results, because I'm very curious to see when multiple people try this out, how well we can get this to work and enjoy your own media. So if this video was helpful, leave a like, leave a comment, and of course subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers. Literally took me 5 hours or so to build this, so I hope you liked it.